Hello, I'm Isole and thank you for clicking on the video. I used to do videos on food and I felt like doing something else, so basically now this channel is just me posting whatever I feel like, and at the moment I feel like doing reviews of movies, but more specifically of Korean movies. Why? Because I've been watching them since 2004. No, I've been watching them since 2009, sorry, and it's now 2024. It's been over a decade, and I think I'm going to review first the movie I've watched before, and then eventually I'll watch new ones and review them. I don't know. Disclaimer, I'm not an expert at movies. I don't have any degree in cinematography or arts. It's just me and my own little opinion about the movies. I'm going to start this video, this series. The first one is going to be on 71 Into the Fire. It's a movie that came out in 2010. I loved it. It came out when I was in high school and I cried so much. I cried so much watching that movie, and I think the same day I watched it, or like the same week, there was a documentary on Arirang. So Arirang is a Korean TV broadcast channel in English that people can just watch online, or if you have a cable TV or whatever you're using. And they did a documentary for that, and I was just sobbing so much. It's a very, very sad story. It's based on a true story. I think that's why it's even more sad, and that's why I cried so much and I could identify with the characters. And I am going to review that right now. It's my first video, so please bear with me, please be kind, and yeah, let's get started. Alright, so first we need some historical context. So this movie is based on a true story. It's called The Battle of Pohang Girl Middle School. It happened in 1950, so the 11th of August 1950 in the Korean Peninsula. So let's take a look first at the history of the Korean Peninsula. So for a part of the 20th century, the Korean Peninsula was under the reign of Japan. It was a brutal, gruesome, horrible reign. I mean, you need to look it up. It was terrible. Like, Japan is just all kawaii anime. No, they did terrible stuff to the Chinese, to the Koreans. I mean, look it up. It's awful. And when the war broke, it was like Japan, Germany against some other people, and the USSR started declare war on Japan, and they're up north, and they were marching on the Korean Peninsula, and they agreed with the US to stop at the 30th parallel north. So they stopped there, and the US took the south and went all the way to Seoul. And when the peace came and Japan lost, they had to leave Korea, go back to their own island, and like that, two governments were settled. In the north there were the communists, and the south they were the capitalists with the US. That was 1945, right? In 1948, the Republic of Korea was founded, what we know now as South Korea. And with that happening, they were starting to have some tensions, obviously ideological tension, especially with the Cold War that was starting to really settle in. And obviously the USSR and the USA, communists and capitalists, they had nothing in common. And both governments felt like they were the legitimate government of the peninsula. At the time, North Korea military was way more advanced than the South Korean one. So on the 25th of June 1950, the North Korean army started a sudden attack on South Korea. In 3 days, they marched to Seoul. In 40 days, they had the entire country under them. And there was only a few places that were still left untouched, that were still fighting against North Korea. And it was the south of the Nakdong River. As you can see here, the Nakdong River is on the south of Korea, and all the south part of the Nakdong River, where the South Koreans were fighting against North Korean, and they were really trying to make sure that they don't get a hold of that place, otherwise that was the end. And they needed to hold until the Allies, so the USA, the US Army came in to help them. The story takes place in Pohang. Pohang is a city on the east coast of South Korea, close to the Nakdong River. And the story is about how students held that city in a specific place until the army came in and saved them. And it was 71 students. So the 71 to the fire it's not because of the year, it's because of the number of students. Male students that were there that fought for their country, for the loved ones, and 47 of them perished on that day. So the movie starts and they give you the historical context I just gave you so you understand what's going on. The first scene takes place in a battlefield, in a town, and we see a young man carrying an injured soldier and lifting him, putting him in a truck because they need to take him away. He can't fight anymore. He looks very different from the other soldiers because he's a student. He's wearing on top a uniform, and I think he has the hat, I don't remember well, but he has the typical blue, navy, dark black, I think that's the color of, at the time, the Korean uniform. And you can kind of see that he doesn't really look like he belongs because of the way he reacts to everything that's going on. Like, he's really quiet, he's not screaming, he's not crying, but he has really big eyes, and every time there's an explosion and there are gunshots, he seems very disoriented, like he's trying to hold and do what he's supposed to do, but he's not used to what's going on around him. So he put the guy on the truck and he's given a mission to bring ammunition to the command center. And he doesn't even understand like the military language, because when they tell him, he's just like, what do you mean? Like, where am I supposed to go? And they tell him, go on this shop because it's the town. So they settle the commander center somewhere in a shop in the city. And I think they really picked a good actor. The actor is T.O.P. Former idol. I'm going to call him Choi Sung-yeon because he's not in the group Big Bang anymore and he doesn't even like being an idol. So I think he's a great actor. I think it's kind of a shame that he never really acted that much, but he's coming out in, I think, the new, what's the name, with the green uniform thing, like I forgot the name, but you get what I mean. He's coming out there and I'm really looking forward to his acting. I think they picked him and they picked right because he has that innocent look to him. That's something that you would expect a student to have. Like, there's bomb, there's fire, there's people like dying, and he's just disoriented and he is shocked, but he has to move forward. And I think he's just a great actor. And you will see in the movie that we learn the name of the boy who's going to be the main character is Jangbom, and we learn it a bit later in the movie because Jangbom doesn't really talk. He doesn't seem to be like the popular guy, the hot guy, the bad kid. He seems to be a very quiet kid. And there's a lot of time where he thinks about his mother, where you see flashback with his mother. And he seems to be overall a really good kid who's just ended up getting stuck in war. And I think the actor really has that innocent look on his face, and he portrays the person very well. And most of the emotion of Jangbom don't come from a speech. They come from the expression of his face, the way he acts, and I think he really embodied that very well. So at some point he reached the command center and he brings the ammunition, and then they are outnumbered. So you see now North Korean soldiers walking into the town firing. So then South Korean soldiers, they have to run, and they're all running and fighting at the same time, trying to get to trucks to evacuate the town. And when that happens, they have to start fighting, and he has a gun, he has bullets, but he's unable to fire a single shot. He's unable to fire a single shot. And at some point, one of his fellow soldiers is shot and stabbed by a North Korean. And at that time, he could shoot and try to really stop that guy from dying. And he grabs bullets, and you can see his hands are shaking. His hand is shaking so much. The bullets are all just falling off his hand, and he's able to grab one. And another South Korean soldier came and shot the North Korean soldier, helped them. They carried this poor man that was shot and put him in the truck. And as they're leaving the town, you have flashback of the same, like they go from one view of them leaving the war, and then when he was in the truck, similar truck, where he's leaving his mother, and you see a lot of students who are saying goodbye to their parents and now they're leaving the town. I'm not an expert, I don't know what they mean, I don't know what they're trying to say. I just find it very beautiful and very touching that at that time he's saying goodbye to the town, and at the time he's saying goodbye to his mother. And during the entire movie you see how they bring his mother, and when he bid farewell to his mother a lot in the movie. So they escape the town, and to slow down the enemy they end up bombing the bridge they had to cross. And you see on the other side of the bridge civilians and all the soldiers who couldn't get fast enough in the truck crying, screaming for help, but they have to be left behind because otherwise the North Koreans will use that bridge, and then how are they going to slow down the army? They can't. So they have to make a choice, and it's really heartbreaking, but I think that's what happens sometimes in war. And you see the civilians have to make a detour and go into the mountain to escape, basically. And when the North Korean army gets to the bridge, and this is like, all right, well, we're going to swim across. So we're going to swim across, and the trucks and everything that has wheels will go up the mountain, and it should take them a day and a half. So they get to the school. They get to the school in the truck, and the school has been turned into the hospital, and he meets a nurse there. And when he gets there, the soldier he tried to help earlier dies on the table, like on it's not even the bed, it's like tables, I guess, with like just blankets. I mean, it's war, it's not going to be a fancy hospital. And he dies there, and it's really touching, and because he doesn't cry, I mean, he doesn't make a sound. He cries, you can see snort and then the tears, but there's no scream coming out of him. And as the guy dies, I think he's holding on the bullet. He couldn't fire, he holds on to it, and he cries, and he walks on the corridor, and you see like him just walking, the camera follows him, and you see people running around and chaos all around him. And I just feel like, that's my opinion, the reason why he can't cry out loud, like scream in pain, is because it's nothing out of the ordinary. It's war, people die, and a lot of people are dying. That soldier wasn't the only one. And it's like, how are you going to show pain for something that's going on? That's something that's just common at this point, and you were lost. And I think there's also the sense of guilt when he holds on the bullet and he cries, the sense of guilt that he couldn't save that guy, and maybe he could have, but because of the situation, he's not used to it, he couldn't save him. All the way to this point, and throughout the entire movie, I think the color they picked for the movie are perfect. There are no bright colors. You will see blue and red when they show the flags, because both North Korean and South Korean flags have red and blue, but it's not even bright red. It's like, you know when you are like on your phone and you want to put a filter, like a kind of gray filter? It's really that. It's not popping colors. And all the colors are like, it's black, different shades of gray, and there's white, but even white, it's not like bright white, it's like dirty white, like white gray, and it really adds to that atmosphere of sorrow, of pain, of desperation, and of war, basically. And I like that the soldiers are not like, oh, clean and oh, cute, they're dirty, like what I expect a soldier to look like in this time. Like, I've never been on a war, like on the battlefield. I'm not a war person, but that's kind of what I would expect soldiers to look like dirty, and you have like their skin is dark sometimes because of the suit, because there's just explosion, everything is just burning, and the blood like doesn't look like water, it's like thick, and you can feel like the smell and the vibes, like bad vibes obviously, coming from like in where they are. I also like the CGI are not over the top. It came out 14 years ago, and I still think the CGIs are pretty good, and the explosion look real enough. People dying and falling are acting pretty well, and the shooting. I think I didn't watch it in the movie theater because I'm in France. I'm not in Korea. Like, it didn't come out like I wanted it to. But anyway, and I think if you are in a movie theater, you have like those like a headset, like a lot of shooting, but it's not distracting. It really adds to that atmosphere of war, of pain, and I think it's really, really well done overall. So, if you remember at the beginning, I told you that the rapid invasion of the South Korean army was pushed to the Nakdong River. So there was a lot of battles happening along the river. And the division that was fighting with Jangbom was the 3rd Division. And they were asked to go back on another battle along the river and to leave Pohang behind. And they weren't really asked to leave it behind, like leave it empty, North Korean can come. It was like, no, we need a way to stop North Korean, and at the same time, you need to head to the Nakdong River, all right? You need to figure it out. So the captain of the 3rd Division decided that the students are going to be the one fighting in the school until they come back and the allies come to help them. So there are new students coming in, a new truck of fresh, cool, nice students. They're so happy. By the end of the movie, they won't be happy anymore. They will be dead. Some of them, most of them. But they're happy, they're laughing, they're cracking jokes like, oh my god, this is so cool, fire, guns. Typical teenagers. Like, we've all been teenagers. And there are 3 who also come off the truck, and they're like the thugs. You know, the kids with the bad reputation, always fighting and bullying others. It's them, 3 of them. So one is Kapcho, and he's played by the actors. I think it's like Kwon Sang-woo. He's supposed to play a student, but I feel like it's just an ajoshi. Like, it's not Hakseng, it's more ajoshi. He looks like an ajoshi. I'm sorry. But he plays well. And it's funny because the captain looks at him and he asked the guy who brought them, like, are you sure this guy is a student? Because he looks very old, and we could all tell, like, he doesn't look like a student. I'm sorry. He looks old, like older than me. And he comes in with 2 of his buddies. It's just like, oh, we are like the cool guys with the bullies, like typical bully behavior. So the captain gathered them in a tent, and you can see the contrast of like Jangbom, who was sitting there looking at them come off, like, this dude is desperate. He's sad, he's desperate, he doesn't want to be there. And them, they're so happy. So they all go under the tent, they give them a gun, ammunition, and they explain to them the mission, like, you need to hold this place until we come back. And they're just like, yeah, well, cool, let's just do it, it's so cool. And the captain decided they need a leader, and he picks Jangbom as the leader, and they're not happy because it doesn't look cool enough. And it's just like, we should vote, it's a democracy. It's war, it doesn't work like that. But he's the only one who had an actual war experience and knows what it's like, so he's picked as the leader of 2 platoons made of students. So now we are at a quarter of the movie, and the students are now left alone to fend for themselves. Now let's take a look at the North Korean army. So they are led by Captain Park Murang. He's played by Cha Seung-won. I love Cha Seung-won, like, I'm sorry. I love that actor. I love him in variety shows, in movies, I love him. His soul, his feet, his voice is And I think the voice actually fits perfectly with the character because it's a very cold man, but very calculated, very sure that he's the best. He doesn't see others as enemies. He doesn't see people as like actual enemies, like I'm bigger than you, I'm better than you, and I am right. And he wears this cap, like a white cap, and with his beard, you can't really see his face. He has like a layer of mystery, and I think it really plays the role with like really tall, really kind of pretentious, not too much, but like kind of pretentious, really sure that he's right, and with the voice, like towering people, talking like with a lower voice, more masculine voice than others. I don't like that word, but you get what I mean. That's really what he portrays, and I love him. Like, I'm sorry, I love him. So he gets with the army to the bridge, as I said earlier. Bridge is down, they come cross, they're just like, okay, we're gonna swing. The others, please go around. And it's funny because there's was actually friction in on his side, because he has, I think, is an assistant. I don't know what his title is in the army, but he has a guy who's supposed to assist him. And Park Murang follows the great leader. At the time, Kim Il-sung, the grandfather of Kim Jong-un. And the assistant follows the party. But technically, above the party is Kim Il-sung. He can do whatever he wants. And he told Park Moran, you need to end this war in 2 months. Like the 15th of August, this needs to be done. And so he says, I'm going to Pohang. I'm going to Pohang because through Pohang, I will get to Busan. And the assistant is like, no, we need to go to the Nakdong River because that's what the party says. And it's like, I don't care what you're saying. I follow the great Kim Il-sung. And so shut up. Later in the movie, he actually kills that dude. He kills the assistant because he's sick of him. He's just like, shut up, you die now because I don't care who you are, but it needs to be gone. So back to the students. It's the first day alone. That's really alone only for 2 days because after 2 days, things just blow up. So the first day alone, they don't want to listen to Jang Bom because they don't feel like he's a great leader. And the two like bullies, thugs, want to act up, but they all talk. They don't really do too much. They just like all talk. But they kind of caught by reality when Jang Bom tells them you need to go bury the bodies of the dead soldiers because you need to know in Korea, August, it's hot, it's humid, it's hot, and it's raining. So imagine corpse decomposing on the floor in the place. It must have stunk. It stinks. Stunk? I don't know. But he tells them you need to bury them, and as they're burying them, you can see like insects on the bodies and just throwing up, and it's like, this is war, man. This is war. This is the real deal. On that night, they are split into two, so one platoon stays outside. They are on guard duty. They're looking, and the others stay inside and sleep. Jamal is inside sleeping, and he's woken up by some people from the outside, students, who tell him like to come, because they are, I think, like between 6 and 10 North Korean soldiers walking in the school. I think they don't know that there's anyone in the school. They're just like talking, chatting, having fun. And because the students don't know how to fight, someone makes a noise, and the North Korean turn around and just like shooting from both sides, and end up some students, I think 1 or 2 kind of dies or get shot, and they kill the North Korean soldiers. There's one who ends up on the floor agonizing, and Jamam goes to him and he has to shoot him, but he's really hesitating, and Gapture is like, kill him, kill him, because Gapture's 5 parents were killed by North Korean. So he's here to kill commies. He's just like, we're going to these commies. That's why I'm here, and I'm gonna do it. So he puts pressure on Jang Bom, who has to do it anyway. So he kills the poor, I guess, North Korean soldier that was crying for his mother. He was like, Oma, Omoni. I don't know which one he used, but Oma. And that night, Jang Bom writes to his mother, because he writes to her every night, but he keeps the letters with him. And in that letter that night, he said that he always thought that North Korean soldiers were monsters. And then he saw that man crying for his mother. And he felt like, I would be doing the same. Like, I would be crying too for you. And I had to shoot him. And he's asking himself, why are we here? Now, why are we doing this? Why am I killing someone who could be just me? And I think some movies sometimes kind of show you that side of war. Not all wars, okay? Like, I'm not saying all wars people were just victims. I'm not saying that, please. But sometimes there are cases where both sides are just fighting because of the power play, because of ideology and leaders who just want them to fight. And that's it. And I think for him, that's what at least he is seeing at that moment. So, with what happened at night, in the morning, they decided they're going to go into the mountain. Like, they need to see what's going on, because how are the North Koreans already here? They need to go and check. So they split into two. Some people stay to protect the school, some go in the mountains. So Gapcho, Jang Bom, and his little thug buddies, the 2 of them, and all others go into the mountain, and they discover an old, like, left, a sack, I don't know how you say that in English, like an old caban, je sais pas. That's a caban. And they find missiles in them and grenades, and just like, maybe we should use them for when they come to attack us, like we can defend ourselves. As they're looking, they hear a shot, boom, and they all fall on the floor. Like, stay on the floor, stay on the floor. And this North Korean was hiding and shot them. Gapjo had a friend who was all talk. I told you those guys are all talk. They just speak. He froze and stayed there, gets shot in the head, dies. Gapjo is furious. He's just like, I'm going to kill them. Because they killed my parents, now they killed my friends, I'm going to kill one of them. He runs towards the North Korean. And everyone scatters. Some follow him, some just run in different direction. But a lot of follow him and follow North Korean soldier. They run after him, jump bombs run also. And they get into a field. It was an ambush. They get in an ambush. The North Koreans are hiding in a wheat field. Rise up, start shooting them. And unfortunately, some students dies. Some North Korean dies also. And this one who ends up running away. As he runs away, Jangbom chases him. And Gapjo is behind him. So Jangbom shoots the North Korean soldier. And you think that, okay, that's it. And then you see a child soldier, North Korean, he's like 8 years old, like 10 max. To make himself taller, he goes like he climbs on a rock. Start reciting some North Korean propaganda, like I'm the soldier for the free country, democratic. I don't know all the entire speech, but he has a speech that he's saying. And Gapjo raises his gun, trying to kill him. And Jangbom doesn't want to because it's an 8-year-old, like 10-year-old. It's a child. It's a baby compared to what a soldier is supposed to be. And seeing a child soldier is always sad, and no one wants to be killing a child. No one's. But at one point, the child soldier raises his gun and ready to shoot. So Gapjo has to kill him, despite Jangbom pleading for him not to do it. But he did the right thing because they were going to die, honestly. So it's another sad thing of war also, I think, where just like the thing before where Jangbom was like, this man was crying for his mother, and now he didn't say anything, but I'm guessing it adds up to that, where you see a child of 8 or 10-year-old child killed because of war, when he doesn't even know what's going on, but it's just ideology that killed that poor baby. Because what does an 8 or 10 years old know about capitalism and communism? Doesn't know anything. And it's very, very sad. Since a few of them just scattered, one was caught by the North Korean, one of the students, and he's brought to the camp of North Korean, and Commandant Park Morang decided that he's going to he's like, tell me where you guys are staying and bring me there. He comes into a car with the North Korean flag hanging, and just him and the driver and his hostage. Like, the man is that confident. He doesn't see the student as a threat at all, and he made a mistake because they are a threat, but he doesn't see them as a threat. He comes in, and I think they've kind of filmed him from below, and because he's tall, anyway, they actually tall, he just put a foot on on the car, and see like that big stature of a man who's here to control and rule all of you. Like, I'm bigger than you, and you're going to listen to what I have to say. And tell them, you guys can surrender. Like, in 2 hours, we will come on this school. And if you raise a white flag, then we'll just let you go. Like, we don't have to kill you. And Jangbom, he might be a frail, kind of awkward dude, you can tell, but he has leadership. He has leadership because all the students follows whatever he says. And he tell Pangurang that you will see at noon when time comes what we're going to do. And he doesn't say it, but they're not going to surrender. They're going to fight. They're going to fight because at this point they've lost a lot of people. A lot of them are dead. There were two brothers who came in the students. One was shot and he was agonizing, and the other brother had to kill his own brother so he doesn't suffer. So they're ready to fight. They're ready to fight, and I think that's where Park Murang made a big mistake. Also, before Park Murang shows up at the school, they got a goal from the 3rd Division. The captain said, hold for 2 hours. We will be there in 2 hours. So by the time the North Korean attack them, the 3rd Division should show up. So I think they have the confidence, like we can hold because they're coming for us. I think I don't know if it was a situation where they knew no one was coming, how they would react. But here they knew that help was coming, and it was a matter of holding on as long as they could to save the loved ones. So they get ready to hold until the 3rd Division comes. They barricade outside, they barricade inside. And before the fight, we don't see it, but because he's been writing a few letters, I think it's the same thing that happens. Jangbom writes a letter to his mother, and he says that he knows, he senses, today is the day he's going to die. He tells it clearly. And you have flashback again, like throughout the movie, but at the time again, of him saying goodbye to his mother, but just like one-on-one, where they are in the same room before they leave so he can go into the truck. And that's kind of like this last images he will remember of his mother. And you have another soldier who writes on the tekui, that's the Korean flag. He writes in Korean, "Let's go into the fire." And with his blood, like his finger with his blood, he writes on the flag and attach it on his forehead to get ready to fight. I think they all know that this is the end for them, and even if the division will come, but not all of them will survive. And I think they really sense it, and you can feel it. They have the last laughter. People are laughing one last time, having fun one last time before the actual battle starts. So a bit before noon, North Korean army shows up. They stay 1 kilometer away so they can see the school. And Park Murang is waiting for his white flag. And what happens? A missile lands. So the students don't know how to use missiles that well. So the first missile actually lands inside the school and just like, oh my god, they're running. The second one, a few seconds after, lands in front of Park Murang. And he's pissed. He is so annoyed, like, how dare you? I gave you the possibility of walking free and you want to attack me? I will kill you. So he tells everyone, like, you go on that school and kill them. And his assistant is like, you see, I told you they were a threat. And he is so annoyed. And I think it's at that time he shot him. Now or a bit later, I think it's that time he just shot him, like, shut up. I don't want to hear about you anymore. You die now. And that's the end of the assistant. He's dead. So both sides start shooting at each other. Grenades are launched here and there. And because they are numbered, remember there were 71 students. Some already died. So they have to run into the school because they're also barricading inside, trying to hold as long as they can. And they're running into the school. And as they're running into the school, I forgot to say something actually earlier before the fight. So after Park Murang leaves, Gapjo and his friend just say, people, we need to leave. They're going to come and kill us. But no one wants to live with him. So he leaves the school with his friend. They just walk away, like they don't want to fight. They walk away. So they start shooting at each other. So North Korean, the South Korean soldiers and the students, they start fighting. Grenades and missiles and all that, but they are outnumbered. Remember, there was just 71 of them, and some are already dead. So they end up running back into the school, and as they're running, who do we see coming? We see a truck coming, and like guy with ammunition, like bullets all over him, and shooting at the North Korean. That was Gapjo, and his friend was running. When they went into the mountain, they had given up, and they saw a truck. Because remember, the North Korean tanks and truck had to go into the mountains. Like they can't swim, obviously. So they pretend to help the North Korean, like, oh, comrade, let me help you. And then I don't know what, they probably killed them, and they take the truck and come to fight. I think in the end, they couldn't really live with themselves, knowing that they left the others behind and they didn't fight. And it was the pride and standing with the others no matter what happened. So they shoot all the North Korean, I mean some of them, not all of them, and they're able to run into the school. And North Koreans are like entering the school, so they have to go higher and higher. At some point, Gapjo and Jangbom are stuck in a room. And you know that talk you see usually in movies when they know they're gonna die. They start talking about each other, like, you were a student, you were not a student. And they see, like, you can see they were different, but in the end, they put all the issues aside and they're ready to fight until the end, and they know this is the end for them. So they fight and get all the way to the roof because they have nowhere else to go. They get into the roof and they're shooting, and Park Murang see them. Hey, he's like, I'm gonna get to you, don't worry. So he goes in the school and goes all the way to the roof. Comes in, shoot Gapjo, falls into the floor. And as he was shooting, he also shoot Jangbom, who ends up falling on like a pile of, I think it's wood or like bricks, I don't know. Yamcha is on the floor agonizing, trying to hold on the foot of the commander Pakmurang, and he just shoot him, like die. And Jangbom is like leaning over, like he's really like leaning over a stack of something. And Pakmurang, as I said, is overly confident, way too confident. The only thing, there's no threat with those students. He comes to him, I don't know what, he's just talking to him like, I was gonna let you leave, and how can you do this, and you have to die. And while he was saying that, Jangbom was actually had his gun like up like this. Like imagine this is a stack and his gun was there and his ends were hidden. So he's putting, you remember the bullet. He couldn't put and he couldn't shoot to save the soldier. At the beginning, the first scene, the guy who was stabbed and they had to run from the North Korean, the small town. He put that bullet into his rifle and shoot Pakmurang, who didn't see it coming because he was too confident. And Pakmurang is like, I think he shot him like in the heart or like very close, so you know he's gonna die. But he wants to finish Jangbom, so he raises his hand, ready to shoot him, and that's when the captain of the 3rd Division comes in, shoot him, dead. But the way he shot Jangbom, he's agonizing and he just dies right there because you know he was going to die, unfortunately. And that's the end. And the closing scene is the students, I think it's based on the actual picture. They took a picture on that day when they got to the school, and you see them like, it's like a flashback of them running, getting in position to take like a picture, like a school picture, like like they go on a field trip, and that's where it ends. It ends. In real life, so 47 students died out of the 71. And they were able to really stop the North Korean army for 11 hours, and they really played a big role into saving South Korea because they were able to hold them for so long that the Allies could come and save the country. And then the war continued for 3 years, ended in 1953. And that's when on the 30th parallel north, that's where they had the border. And now you have North Korea and South Korea, and you can actually visit the DMZ. I visited it in 2011. When you go in Korea, it's like, oh, so fun, South Korea, yeah, cool. And then you go to the DMZ and you get into buses. You can't even look outside. Like the soldiers are in the bus, like, don't look, don't look. You can't dress how you want, you can't look outside, and you really have that curious sensation that, okay, there's still war happening. Because in 1953, they signed an armistice, which is basically a ceasefire. It's not a peace treaty. The war is not over. I mean, the war is over, but you get what I mean. It's just armistice. There's no peace that was signed. It never happened to this day. So I've finished this with my opinion on the movie, and I've told my opinion throughout the entire video. But I think I was able to emphasize so much and cry so much because it was students, and I was an high school student when I watched it, and I just couldn't imagine myself fighting for a war, for my own country, dying, and how what I felt. I was in so much tears, and I think the casting was great. Choi Seung-yeon played Jangbom perfectly, in my opinion, my humble opinion. He embodied him very well. He was able to really show his emotion through his acting, not speaking, because Jangbom, as I said, doesn't speak very much, but his expression of his face and like his actions, you could really feel like he was a boy. I was going to say man, but he was a boy who had to go through something, had to stand up, and was really questioning why he was there, but because the love for his mother, for his country, did whatever he could to hold on as much as he could. And in contrast with Kapcho, who's not the timid boy, who's really, as I said, like one of the bullies, but in the end, when it was time to fight, he first ran away. He was all talk, he couldn't fight, but still he came back and they fought together. Two different boys with two different personalities, two different way of seeing lives. When it matters, they were able to come together and really fight. And I think Cha Seung-won also played this captain, the commander Murang Pang Murang very well, with the overly confident, being so sure that he's going to win. I think he played that very well. I love the colors. I think the colors, because it's a lack of colors. Black and white are still colors. I think even if the movie came out 14 years ago, I watched it to make this video. I think it's still very good. I recommend watching it. And I like historical movies. In this one, I kind of like the ending. It's sad, but I like it. And I watched another one. Maybe I will review it on still Korea, but like more political. So my camera got too hot and stopped recording. I will just wrap this up. Thank you for watching the video. Please leave, comment, and give me your feedback. I will improve where I can improve. And thank you. See you next time.